while we're waiting to see if we can get Greg online, I just want to run through some housekeeping with people, just to say that today we're obviously going to be talking about resilience, and that has the potential to be, it's very relevant, but can be quite I suppose, what's the word? It could be triggering for lots of people. So just to kind of, we're going to give you some contact numbers towards the end to kind of support you. Just some other housekeeping things. So it's Easter this weekend, so there won't be any little lunches on Friday the 10th or Monday the 13th. The conversation with Frank Panucci, which was going to be tomorrow, has been moved to Tuesday the 14th. Today's lunch is being recorded and will be streamed live and available for viewing after today from www.llol.com.au. We'll be sticking to the 30-minute time frame for signing and captioning purposes, but we know that the conversation probably could go on much longer than that. When you add a comment, we would invite you to introduce yourself and to let us know whose country you're on today. If people want to access the live captioning, which is available, please click on the captions icon on your bottom strip of your screen. Please, if you've got a question that you want to ask, if you can type it in the Zoom chat and put your hand up using the hand up button, if that's possible. Please keep your mics muted unless you're speaking. And if there's any tech problems or feedback, then please email contact@artsfront.com. Bear with me 1 second, sorry. Gail, are you happy? Well, I think Greg is going to be joining us. So, Gail, are you happy to just introduce some of the thoughts that we were having for today, just while I see if I can get Greg with us?
Sure. Hi, everyone. So as Carolyn's already mentioned, today we're talking about resilience, and we're really talking about resilience for deaf and disabled artists and arts workers. And Caroline and I will be leading the conversation from our own personal experiences as disabled artists. And as Carolyn said, other things are going to come up, and seeing that Caroline and I aren't trained counsellors or psychologists, some issues may be out of our range to actually provide any advice on or support. So as Caroline said, we'll have, in fact, it's already there online listed under this event, some contacts and support people can have. Did you want me to say anything more, Caroline, while we're waiting? Or I think she's trying to get through to someone. But it's great to be here with everybody. And I really like that Morwenna Collette has another guest that I don't know if he was registered, but it's great to see him online.
He's very excited to be joining us today.
That's beautiful. And so I think we're going to start with Caroline and I just starting off with a little conversation and maybe asking each other some questions to start everything going. And then we're going to open it up and ask you some questions and some of your insights as well. She's still on there. What else can I say? We're going to talk about what resilience is, you know, what sort of things make up resilience, how you can build your resilience as well. And I think for a lot of us as deaf and disabled people, we have a lot of the skills we need because we use those just to operate in the everyday world. And maybe we don't realise we've got those skills. And so hopefully this is a chance for us to really focus in on what we've got and how we can bring that to the fore in this time of something that's unprecedented for us in this country. Yeah, for most of us at least. So we're waiting for Caroline.
Hi, folks. I'm back. Sorry, and Greg is with us online. So Elliot, are you able to unmute Greg 53?
Yep, will do.
Great. Greg, we're just about to unmute you.
Yeah.
Okay, Greg, we're handing over to you. If you can give us an acknowledgement, that would be perfect.
And take the door first. All right, here we go. In none of the country, I would like to acknowledge that one to the people of the colonized, the traditional owners of the land on which we meet today. I would like to pay my respect to the elders past and present and emerging. I would also like to extend my respect to any other elders and Aboriginal people who may be present here today. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Greg, for landing us there. I am coming to you from the land of the Boonwurrung people, and stories still feel alive despite the quiet in the outside world at the moment. So thanks, Gail, for giving people a bit of an introduction. I was reminded yesterday of an image by a fantastic disabled artist called Hayley Brown, who's based in Santa Cruz in the States. So she's kind of quite close to the heart of it all over in America at the moment. But she every year produces a thing called the Coping Calendar. And she produced this image that I wanted to share with everybody because it feels very relevant for us at the moment. She has now produced this image on a t-shirt, and I feel like every deaf and disabled person in the world needs to have one of these issued to them at some point in their life, and lots of people. We acknowledge that everybody's needing to up their resilience at the moment. So Gail, let's start with you, and I don't know whether you gave your definition, but
No, I didn't.
great. Do you want to talk about what resilience means to you at the moment?
Yeah, and I also didn't say that I'm on Kaurna land today. Apologies that I didn't say that at the beginning. So I think resilience is about the choices that we make every day, and the choices we make can determine how resilient we can be. And it's human nature too to resist change, but change is inevitable, and particularly with what's happening with COVID-19 at the moment, we have no control over that. So building our resilience is really, really important at this time, not only to survive this change, but also to learn and grow and thrive as deaf and disabled people. I think really building resilience is about having really positive coping strategies and trying to eliminate the negative coping strategies that a lot of us can fall into quite easily on a bad day. And this is quite intense. It's quite a lot of difficult days. And I think trying to reframe everything, you know, and we need to look at joy and humour as well. We can't forget that in the equation. And we've got to stop using any self-blame strategies. And I think often as deaf and disabled people, we're in positions where we can get very angry, and we're fighting. A lot of us are out there fighting to make systematic change. So we can all know how hard that is. But at these times, I don't know how much fighting we can do for systemic change at the moment, but let's keep ourselves as well and healthy as we can be for that big fight that we always have. I hope that, yeah, Carolyn?
Yeah, I think too, we were talking a bit about the fact that daily life as a disabled person often requires greater resilience due to what's coming up against us. But I think I became really interested in a quote that was introduced yesterday to me by Liquid Architecture, where they came out with a quote that says, "As the theorist and cultural critic Robin James reminds us, the discourse of resilience, like the atomizing, let's just go with the discourse of resilience, often serves to make individuals feel responsible for overcoming systemic and structural problems as if it was simply a matter of choice combined with willpower." And as Gail's pointed out, there is willpower needed. There is mechanisms that we can put in place to be better supporting ourselves, but there's also, we are working within a structure that also doesn't help. But can we talk about some resilience techniques? How can we be building our resilience? I'm going to ask this of Gail first, and then I'm going to talk about, and then I'm going to open it up to other people to feed in, because I know that everybody on these 2 pages are going to have ways that they're building resilience at the moment in these kind of constant changing times.
Okay. Some of you that know me know that I have talked about being perfectly imperfect. That's, that term, I think when I first started using wasn't so much used, but it's more used now, and we actually see that on t-shirts and handbags and all sorts of stuff. But we don't have to be perfect. We don't have to load those pressures on ourselves. We've got to take time for ourselves and find that cozy place, which I think Caroline will talk about a little bit more. And it's okay to be as active as you want to be, but it's okay if you need a day watching the crappiest TV in the world. That's okay too. And a lot of us are artists and arts workers in here, and ideas can spring from anywhere. So don't worry about that. Looking at the connections, I think as for a lot of deaf and disabled people, we have a public self and a private self, some of us. And some of that is and it's part of our resilience to negotiate the world every day. I think what's going to happen though, and we're going to see more of, and it's happening with non-disabled people as well, we're going to see more of the personal self. We've got non-disabled artists, I'm sure disabled artists that are online, musicians playing a concert in their their living room and stuff. So I think we're going to see much more personal connection. And I think that's great, but I also want people to think about protecting yourself in that way as well. I would hate to think anyone would get trolled for your opinions or saying what you need to personally say. And it makes me think of social media as well, that sometimes there's a lot of noise and you may need to remove yourself from that noise. And the biggest thing is that we really need to be kind to each other. We don't know. We know individually how we might deal with stress. Sometimes you've said something and it's not until later you can go, I've said that because I was stressed. So please be kind, because we don't know. You could know the sweetest, calmest person in the whole world, and at a moment like this, we've never seen them under major stress. They might become short and blunt and, passive aggressive or whatever it is. So that's about them and not you. So that's something I think we've really got to take on board. Find a way to laugh out loud every day. Do things maybe you've been putting off. Can I go a little bit further, Caroline?
Sure.
Yeah. I want to think, if you think about what it means to be an artist or an arts worker, we look at things very differently. We look at things really closely. Keep doing that. Keep a journal maybe, where you can write your ideas down. As a designer, I can say that I do find beauty in everyday things and situations that can bring me a lot of joy. Sometimes other people I'm with that don't work in the arts go, why do you think that is beautiful? And just keep making connections and, do things, redecorate your home, put your skills into practice in other creative ways. Yeah.
Yeah. We've got some lovely questions and thoughts coming through on the chat as well.
Right.
So Elliot asked the question about, does creating work help develop resilience? Does it help build our resilience? I think for me, it absolutely does. I think as a creative being, I have massive moments of anxiety when I'm creating any work, but then actually post whatever the outcome of that is, I definitely feel like my resilience has the potential to be stronger than it was previously. We're getting lots of comments about not slipping into the jargon. It's a really good reminder, Anna. Thank you so much about also just kind of being able to be in it and try not to absorb it, but how do we not fall into the jargonistic stuff. And the really important thing about self-care, and how do we care for ourselves in these times, is a really, and what are our moments of joy and in a day, or what are some of the things that I'm interested in finding out from people? What are some of the things that you're doing to do some of that self-care for yourself? And I wanted to introduce you to two things that I have started doing in the last 2 days. One is that every morning there is a dance of the day. So to the crappiest piece of music I can find. So this morning it was Jennifer Lopez, Let's Get Loud. I managed to find a video that also had some very bad dancing that went with it, which I thought was quite helpful, just in case I couldn't generate any of my own. And the other thing is that I have started to have a karaoke break every day. So rather than having a cake break, because if I keep eating cake at the rate that I am at the moment, I won't actually be able to get out the door when I'm allowed to. So I've started to introduce karaoke once a day. So dance of the day and karaoke break. I'm not sure my singing is going to have improved by the time we are through this, but they are currently 2 little moments of joy that I'm finding for myself that are feeding my vague creativity, but also are just kind of a moment to snap. in. Other people, Gail, how are you looking after your self-care?
Well, I have a lot of self coping mechanisms. One is dressing up as other people, or like today, pretending I'm a newsreader. So what's happening here is very different to what's happening below. Lots of things, but Karen, it'd be great to ask everybody else, you know, what's that one thing that makes you really tingly and happy and giddy and brings you joy? You actually don't need to explain it. So it could be, you know, disco dancing in the bathroom. Could we open that up, Carolyn, just to get one great thing from everybody?
Sure. We're getting lots of lovely things in the chat, but I wonder if people want to put their hand up or send me a message saying, I want to add something. I might just, while that's happening, I'll read out some of the things that are coming through. So craftivist, like activist, but with craft. So people are talking about knitting. Melissa started knitting again after 30 years of not knitting, potentially, and is preparing for the International Yarn Bomb Day. Stitch and Bitch is a great way. People could be meeting up. Sue's talked about a self-compassion group that's every Tuesday. And we can give you the details of that. Nice. Elliot tries to spend 15 minutes with or caring for his balcony garden every day. Riona's connecting with the mob, which is great. Long baths, nice. Reading old art magazines, which is lovely. And then feeling ready to face another day. Melissa's also said that you can find out which knitting groups are meeting online and chatting each week. And I suppose once we find those things, it would then be about how do we make them accessible. So that's another layer to add on top. Are people, I mean, one of the things that I'm working on at the moment for Arts Access is we're thinking about offers that we can make to people that everyone can get involved in over the next 6 months. So some kind of much more large scale group kind of activity, because I think what we're finding more and more with things going online is actually this is the perfect platform for deaf and disabled artists. All of a sudden, people are watching in a way that they haven't been. So is there an opportunity in these times for us to be making our presence felt? And is there an interest to do that collectively, or do people want to do that individually? So that's kind of a thought that would hang there. Malwena, can I bring you in to the conversation? Things that you want to add?
Yes, just on the self-care thing, just some of the things that have been working for us, making sure we start the day with a walk, like getting the outside time at the beginning of the day has been really important for us. And yeah, finding those connection points as well. I love the karaoke idea. We've just started an online trivia team sort of once a week, just to have that kind of group connection. I think has been really good. And something that I thought sounded really naff, but I'm really enjoying is just at the end of each day, kind of writing down 3 things that I'm grateful for that have happened on that day, just to help with the positivity. Yeah, so that's been really useful. And yeah, just on the self-care front, like this week, just going and getting a mental health care plan sorted out to kind of look after myself at this time has been really good as well.
Yeah, brilliant. Thanks, Mona. Riona made the point about breaking the day down into smaller pieces, which is great, and ticking bits off that we do. I read something the other day that talked about writing yourself a not to-do list. So I won't get up before 9 a.m. or I'm not going to go for a walk today, or yeah, whatever it might be. But yeah, a not to do list as much as yeah, as much as a to-do list. Other thoughts that people have got about self-care at the moment that you might want to share?
Yeah.
Greg, yep.
Yeah. I want to say, my days,
Yep.
looking at DVD, watching old classic movies on TV. I like Western and and during the day and night I've been watching Westerns.
Nice.
Westerns. The old classic Westerns.
Brilliant. That's great.
John Wayne. John Wayne.
John Wayne.
Yeah. It's a really good reminder that's just come from Anna about embracing our vulnerability, and not as a weakness, but really seeing it as a strength and reminding us that we are all human. And in Gail's point before about being kind to each other, we also need to be kind to ourselves, which is super important at the moment. And finding ways to be more comfortable with the uncertainty, because so much is out of our control at the moment. What is in our control is the fact that Artsfront has committed to dedicating every Thursday Little Lunch while they continue to issues around access and what might be coming up for deaf and disabled artists and art workers at the moment, which is fantastic. So next Thursday's Little Lunch, what will happen now is that we will pass the baton on to other people in our sister organisations in other parts of the country, and they will host. So Accessible Arts New South Wales has already said that they're interested in access to arts in South Australia and Dada, Western Australia. We think that the next conversation next Thursday might be between Dada and Arts Access Australia, who were unfortunately one of the organisations that lost their 4-year funding last Friday. So it looks like they might come on and talk about the importance of a national kind of view of the world. And yeah, so that is likely to be the conversation for next week. But watch this space, keep an eye out on Feral Arts and Artsfront's website for the update. But thank you all so much for joining us again this week, and I will be here just as a viewer next week, not necessarily in the driving or the kind of chatting seat. Thank you, Gail, for starting the conversation with me. And thank you all for coming. It's so lovely to see all your faces at least once a week. Yeah, let's find other ways to connect. Thanks so much. Have a lovely rest of your day. Look after yourselves. Stay safe. Wash your hands. Do all those things. Bye.